it is interesting that Lebock has been given the start at the
It's
weekend.
interesting, yes.
Another guy that has is Eben Etzebeth. Chewy, I'll come to you. He's going to break Victor Matfield's record of 127 caps. Sorry, I think Matfield's on, so this is 128th. He could well end up with 150 plus. I think he probably will, but still a hell of an achievement. Most cap Bock of all time.
Oh, he's absolute. I mean, if you were looking back over your rugby life and you were going to pick, I don't know, 10 locks, let's say, who just absolutely would be on your list of all-time greats, he'd be well in that group. Well in that group.
Yes.
And we're talking about people like John Eales or Martin Johnson. Albacete had his had a few moments. I mean, crikey, what a good player he was at his best. But no, Etzebeth he has that air of sort of darkness about him, doesn't he? A bit like Johnson did. He's obviously not someone you particularly want to have a fight with in an alley behind a bar on a Saturday night because you'll lose. I think he does it all. His ground coverage is remarkable. His handling used to be underrated, but it's of the highest levels. He's an outstanding line-out performer, as he showed at the weekend. I'm sure he scrummages the house down. It's a bit hard to tell if you're watching it on the TV, but he just brings more than anything. He is a massive obstacle for the opposition to get over if they're going to win a game. You have got to beat Etzebeth somewhere, somehow, if you're going to win the game. And that's a big ask. And that is the
Yes.
definition of a great player. It doesn't all have to be physicality. You had to beat Dan Carter as well, or you had to beat Michael Jones, genuinely great players. But my goodness, he has been a tremendous player over a very long period of time now. And I remember the excitement about him right at the start of his career, and people right at the start were saying, this is a great player in the making. Well, we've heard that 1,000 times, but this bloke has fulfilled every expectation, and I take my hat off.
And it's a bit of a
Yes.
disgrace that he hasn't yet won or been awarded the World Player of the Year. I mean, in fact, sometimes he doesn't even get nominated. I can't remember a season when he hasn't been one of the world's top five players.
No.
Not in the
Yeah.
last decade. He's always one of the world's top five players. And I think more than once he's been the world's best player.
It's because he stares at the selection committee.
Oh, I had to laugh. You were saying he's got that menacing air, and he has. But he's a pretty disciplined player, isn't he? He stays on the park.
Yeah.
He stays on the park.
That's
Yeah,
a fair point.
but he always gives you the impression that he could be wild
Absolutely.
if
Yes.
it really
No,
came to it. Yeah.
and something to add is the presence that he
Yeah.
has in a pitch.
Great word. Exactly that.
He,
Yeah.
the work rate, the presence, he even chases kicks. He's the fastest
Yeah.
of everyone, and he's everywhere. For me, it's nowadays top five of the world, top three perhaps. For me,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's very refreshing. You have a habit of slagging off men that you would definitely lose to a fight to on this
Well,
podcast.
that's
It's
because there are
refreshing
so
to hear
many
you
of
praise
them.
one.
That's because, oh yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what Etzebeth brings you. He brings you Bakkies Botha and Victor Matfield.
Yeah, he's exactly that.
Yes,
That is very high
And
praise.
that's a combination. He can do either of those things.
Yeah.
And frequently does them both in the course of a game, depending on the situation. I mean, the only other second row I think individually who had that range, and it was a very different character, was John Eales, who might be still the greatest lock I ever saw because he kicked goals, and I mean it was just stupid the range of his abilities. But for Etzebeth to combine the real tractor, the engine lock with the athleticism of a number five
yes,
is a hell of a thing. He's a
I agree.
you'll
I
know
agree.
Conte Pomi